Netflix bosses are apparently a little spooked after Meghan Markle gets utterly demolished in various reviews across all of social media, in the media, average people, the world. Everybody hates with love Meghan pretty much. And that should not be a surprise, but apparently Netflix is starting to get a little bit of cold feet, especially as Meghan prepares to launch her product line. And apparently Netflix is very invested in this. And I've got to say, guys, they should 150,000% be super duper worried here because there's a lot to be concerned about. Because, yes, there was a decent amount of hate watching for Meghan Markle's series. And sure, that means more viewership for Netflix, which Netflix likes. However, will those people buy products? That is a true marker of success here. And I think Netflix has a lot to be concerned about. So we are going to get into this interesting little tidbit today because I think Netflix sort of liked the negative reaction a bit because, oh, that means hate watchers. But will hate watchers turn into consumers? That is a true metric. So we shall sort of dive into this a little bit today. But if you haven't been to Royal News Network before, hello, my name is Brittany. I provide compelling royal commentary. So if you want to hit that subscribe button, I would love to have you back. We have an amazing channel here, and we do have some who are going on an upcoming trip to the south of France. So it is from September 25th through the 30th, and it's going to be a really, really fun trip because we are going to be in Nice, a little bit in Monaco. There's another location as well, wine tasting. Like, so much fun, guys, is going to be had. So if you're interested in checking that out, because it is a bit of a shorter trip that you can fit in, feel free to check out the link up above. And I am also considering a bit of a trip, maybe another Christmas market one. And this would be to the Baltic states. So that's Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. So if you guys have any interest in that at all, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. I'll be checking for it. Just say like Baltic or something. And I will look for it and see if there's any maybe interest in that. The price isn't too bad. And I've never been to those states. So to me, that would be so, so fun to travel around to those countries, especially during such a special time of year. Although it is cold, we dealt with it last time and it was great. And I'm looking forward to seeing what maybe next year might hold. So I'm just sort of considering that, but I would love to get your guys' thoughts. All right. Netflix certainly did enjoy a bit, you could say, of press as Meghan Markle's TV show went live about last week this time. And there was a lot of headlines, a lot of talk, a lot of discussion. But I would say about 90% of it was pretty negative. Even people who don't follow Harry and Meghan were watching this thing going, this is the worst piece of television I have ever seen. And they aren't wrong. It was not good. Objectively, it was not engaging. It was not interesting. It was wildly out of touch with the average human being, even the average Californian. I think even Gwyneth Paltrow would watch that and go, what the heck is she doing? And that, I think, is what's spooking the Netflix bosses here. So let's get into this Daily Mail piece and see what they have to say. So it says, Insider reveals what Netflix bosses really think about the dire reviews of Meghan's show and the future of her $100 million deal. So it says they are worried by the grim reviews of her show. Well, guys, they should have expected that. Did anybody at Netflix watch this? Are they unable to give notes? Because I think acting like a human being would be like note number one. So it says it's not a runaway success, Mail Insider at Netflix has admitted, adding they understood that season 2 was filmed back to back with season 1 last year. And this is true. So yes, it is in the top 10, but it should be number 1 at some point. Their original show, Harry and Meghan, was at number 1, then went to number 2. I think it unseated Wednesday for a period of time. Wednesday was huge. Then it got bumped back down to 2, and it stayed there for a bit until finally falling off. I'm not sure when it fell off the top 10, but Meghan's highest hit was number 5. Now, it depends on how much competition she had this time of year, but given her name, given her platform, why isn't she number 1? Could it be because it wasn't good? And guys, I would argue that although Netflix was excited it maintained, because I thought it would drop off after a day because it was bad. But I think what happened here is that people were hearing about the bad reviews and they had to see it for themselves to really believe it. They had to see it. So you have a portion of the audience that's just watching. That's why I think it's had a bit of longevity, is because people are like, I've got to see this for myself. And they see the train wreck. So it goes on to say, Meghan showed herself celebrating season 2, even though they had already filmed it. And then she also admitted to making mistakes, but insisted she is learning every day after the show was panned. So she has made mistakes, but here's the thing. I always come back to this, is that her mistakes were easily avoidable given the resources she has. If I made those same mistakes, like with the branding and everything, I am one person doing it all by myself. I stay up late at night. I wake up early sometimes. I do a variety of different things in order to keep this operation running because I'm a one-woman team. Meghan Markle has an infinite number of people I think she can hire to farm out and create the best products, the best line, the best branding as possible. And she failed to do so. And she had to switch branding and still feels like the name and the reasoning is just sort of ad hoc together. And I think people feel that. And that doesn't bode well for the future of the company. So, an insider with links to the commercial arm of the streaming giant told the Daily Mail that the reviews have them worried. They say, I know they filmed the shows back to back. So, in theory, there is no second season. It's like a lot of Netflix shows, it is already in the bag at the same time as the first one. What this does is allow edits to be made to the show from feedback from the press and Netflix viewers. It's clever and cost effective. So, no, the overall contract hasn't been renewed yet. However, I would offer a caveat here. Sure, they can edit it to make it better. But the problem is the woman in front of the screen doesn't want them to edit it. She doesn't think she ever did anything wrong. She doesn't think the show is wrong. Like, how could it get to that point and nobody realized how bad the show is? And I think they did know. I think the producer knew, who worked with Anthony Bourdain. I think he knew it was bad. But the thing is, she can't take critique. She demands absolution so that nobody can change what she envisions for herself. And as a result, you have this complicated mess. It's just a massive, complicated mess. So the show is just not working. It's talking about them being worried quite a bit. It says the industry Bibles like the Hollywood Reporter and Variety are not keen on it. Netflix bosses are all worried now because they have invested a lot in the product line and they don't know when and how to roll it out. And here's what they have to work with. And anyone at Netflix, I feel like greenlit this should be fired, to be quite honest. That is my personal opinion. Because number one, this is a poorly designed website. Why? Because it's a massive. Do you know what consumer websites do? On the first page, on what you see, you can instantly click on something to buy it. You can't do that on her page. It's poorly designed because it's all about the aesthetic. And we see raspberry spread. And here is what we have here, guys. Again, let's look at the product line here. Raspberry spread in a keepsake packaging. Why would you want that? What is the purpose of that? That is stupid. That is stupid because there is nothing unique or interesting or like it's just another knickknack for you to keep. It's dumb. Like, I don't know. I don't have anything close right here that might be worth it. But it'd be like, I have jam from the palace. It can't come in a keepsake thing. I didn't need to. I didn't want it. It's jam. It's jam. And she can't say it's jam because, oh, jam is half sugar, half the fruit. And she somehow created a perfect concoction here. I am curious if it is decent at all. I sort of kind of doubt it because she claims to have worked on this for years and years and years. Yet somehow we came up with a different brand name, had to shuck it last minute, and then sort of cobbled this thing together. So the whole thing looks ad hoc. And she can't say, I've been working on this forever. I want to share this with you forever. And this is my heart song. This is my passion project. And for her to put in really the minimal effort here, like the minimal effort comes across. You don't have this mess if you put in a lot of effort to something and you have all the resources in the world again to have everything fulfilled and have the perfect rollout. And so let's look at the other products here. So we have the raspberry spread. We have honey, limited edition wildflower honey with honeycomb. Ooh, it's not like, I don't have honey right here or honey from Finland. I need her limited edition honey. And then we have the flower sprinkles because, it's her desire to drown us all in flowers because everything's better with flowers. Then we have teas. Any of these teas you can find in store for $3. And then we have a crepe mix and a shortbread cookie mix. Now, this is sort of interesting to consider is that there might be a market for these, maybe. I would say out of all the products, these are the ones that sort of lean maybe into the more interesting realm just because they're not readily accessible at all grocery stores. And here's the thing, not that many people make crepes and not that many people make shortbread cookies. Because what can happen when it comes to marketing and branding and everything like that is that sometimes things were offered at one point, but the market showed that there wasn't an interest. I think that's probably possible with a crepe and a shortbread cookie mix. I mean, her reasoning for both of those is pretty pathetic. It's, oh, I had to study abroad once in France for like, 2 months. And I decided that, I loved crepes and then the shortbread cookies. Oh, I lived in England. Oh, when you were a member of the royal family and they gave you everything you could ever want for in life and it wasn't enough for you and you abandoned them and called them names and threw shots at them and mud at them from across the other side of Atlantic, that royal family, that England. So the reasoning here is pretty tenuous. But I think the big thing is that sometimes things aren't available in the mass market because there is no market for them. Has she proven with any of these products that there is a market for what she is offering? Does she know what she is offering is different than what other people are? If there's no difference between her pack that may cost $25 and another pack that may cost $5, people are going to go to the convenient $5 one. And I just can't imagine why on earth did Netflix feel like supporting her as she launches with food products first and foremost. That I think is a bad business strategy. It is. Food projects can spoil. Food products can have bad batches. There's a lot of potential issues with food products, and the margins aren't terribly high. And how many did she produce? So are their margins even lower because they didn't produce quite as much because they're trying to see what the interest is? And based on her appearance on the Drew Barrymore show, honestly, she did not make me want to take on any of her cooking, to be quite honest. I was like, no, I'm sort of good. I'm sort of good. I'm not that interested in her cooking. And that's another glaring issue for Netflix here is that she was supposed to portray a level of competence that she couldn't totally reach. Her cookies on the Drew show looked bad. It looked like she couldn't cook very well, that she didn't make sure, didn't give the direction to the production team to have the butter at room temperature. So the cookies really didn't come together. And the cookie recipe is so basic. Why in the world would you need something like Meghan Markle's cookie mix? And why didn't she show off her shortbread cookie mix? Why are we doing a different cookie mix? Shouldn't we be doing your shortbread? Isn't the point to sell the shortbread? But it seems like her whole point is to sell this stupid spread, this stupid raspberry spread. I'm sorry, but there's not a huge market for this. And it's sort of ridiculous to go all in on something so basic. Guys, I do have to get together because I filmed it and I keep getting behind and behind and behind. But I filmed a whole thing of me making jam. It's not that hard. And yeah, she claims her thing is spread, but what are the actual ingredients? We don't know yet. She claims it's better than regular jam because it doesn't have as many sugars. We're focusing on the natural sugars in the fruit. Well, then your thing should say what? Just fruit and pectin? What else does it say, Meghan Markle? Because I'm sure it says more than that. So, guys, there are two bits here that I forgot to add as well. The first is that her Instagram growth is still pretty slow. It's still stalled at a 2.4. I swear that at one point recently, like on Sunday or this morning or something, it was at 2.5, but it's still at a solid 2.4. And that's just not a lot of growth. I think she started when the show aired at 2.2 and she only gained 200,000 followers. Now, that might be a lot to most people, but given her profile, given how many millions of households Netflix is in, it's like 300 million households. She only gained 200,000 followers. That is really, really small. And her as ever, Instagram is also just past the 700,000 mark. So those socials aren't moving, I think, as well as they should be. If I was Netflix, I would be a bit concerned about that. And then also, who is supposed to buy these products? What is her audience? Because watching the show, I'm not sure. I think it was either Megyn Kelly or Maureen Callahan who sort of joked that the audience for Meghan's show are the servants of the 1% or the 1% of the 1%. Like those are the potential like audience for the show because I know people will buy it 100%, but I am just curious who beyond her Uber fans was this supposed to appeal to? Because I don't feel like the audience is very well defined here. And again, that will impact her sellability when it comes to her products. If people felt like they didn't connect with her, they didn't connect with the program, they're less likely to purchase her products because she wasn't really able to define what her audience should be because it was too ostentatious for the average person. And yet, even I think people who are very wealthy would be like, I don't totally get this either. So she's between a rock and a hard place here, guys. And so definitely is Netflix. And I'm sure they're starting to feel that. And so what is truly going on here? I think Netflix made a huge mistake, not only signing them, because they did get their pound of flesh with the Harry and Meghan show, but I think they made a massive, massive, glaring error deciding to invest in her business because she is not a good businesswoman. We've seen this play out. The American Riviera Orchard disaster. She started shilling products last year for a brand that she had to close down basically because she couldn't get the trademark on issues that were glaringly obvious in the first place. Her reasoning that, oh no, the geographical location meant that we had to source everything from California. Well, duh, that like any trademark attorney would have told you that because you could not get the trademarks because it was a bad name. And this is not any better. And I feel like looking at her website, this is going to be a really, really hard product to sell long term. And yeah, she'll have the Sussex Squad devour it. But here's the thing, and I have a whole video that'll probably air tomorrow that I go over sort of my mediocre Meg theory. But what I think was the true failure, glaring error of this series is that Meghan Markle has claimed to be more than a woman who lunches and yet made an entire series about a woman who lunches. And I think what people are finding out is that despite her proclamations to the contrary, of being this intellectual, this deep thinker, this woman of the people, this progressive, and everything like that, is that in reality, she is shallow, vain, and vapid. And that's entirely what that series showed. And when I look at her products, I can only think of her coming at it from that lens. It's like the flower sprinkles. How many people are gonna buy that? How fun is that gonna be at the end of the day? I can buy sprinkles for $3 at the grocery store. I don't need them to be fake flowers because kids don't care about that. Most people don't either. That's just like an addition thing if you're have a crazy level of time to be ridiculous. It was overly pretentious. And she did it to a level of absurdity that I think actually undermined her potential viability for products. And so, because of all these negative reviews, and I think because the negative reviews spurn people into watching and they saw the train wreck for themselves, I feel like instead of gaining more customers, they lost. They lost some customers because people who may have been interested in buying it, if they didn't know too much about Meghan, they're like, oh, I'll give it a shot. And then they watch her show and they go, this woman has no idea of my daily struggles. She has no clue of what the average person goes through. I mean, she can't even have a conversation with another person easily. She's awkward. She's fake. She's contrived. She's so many different things. Why should I buy her products? Why should I support her and pad her bank account? Because now I like her less. That has been the true damage of With Love Meghan, is I think more people came out liking her less than liking her. She'll always have her stands. She'll always have her fanatics and worshipers. But I think the average person, the larger, broader consumer base that she needed to appeal to, she failed to hit the target. And I think that's what has Netflix truly concerned. Nobody in Hollywood is even sticking up for her. They've all kept their distance except for her Uber friends. Other than that, do you see Oprah Winfrey going on and on about it? Tyler Perry, Gwyneth Paltrow, Ellen DeGeneres, Jennifer Alba, anybody? Kerry Washington propping this up and going, I can't wait for As Ever. I think what happened is that some people were horribly embarrassed that they shilled her jam on social media last year. And then the company didn't come together. And so they look kind of stupid talking about a strawberry jam that now doesn't even exist. There is no strawberry jam. And they're like, we feel kind of stupid. So why would we shill for you? And I think that's what has Netflix truly concerned. They were really, really hoping Meghan could pull this out, but She can't. She's extremely unlikable. Even those closest, even liberal publications in Hollywood, all saw through her and gave her a massive, massive thumbs down. And Ted Sanders talked one time about that people have such a reaction about Meghan. And you could read it both ways. You could read it as people are so excited, or there's a negativity. And again, I feel like Netflix stupidly fed into the negativity instead of abating it. I don't know who greenlit this project. I don't know who saw it from Netflix and thought, yeah, this is good. But it really isn't. And Netflix only has themselves to blame here. They went along with this nonsense. They funded it. And now they have to live with the consequences. And yes, I think some of her stuff will sell, but will it sell the way it needs to? Will her products get any better? What if, given that she is not obviously detailed oriented about the creation of her brands and stuff, will there be an issue? Will there be a shipping issue? Will there be a product issue? Because if her products aren't flawless, that'll just feed into the negativity. There's so much negativity surrounding her right now. And she does herself no favors by sounding ridiculous, by constantly changing her narrative, changing her childhood constantly. Nothing is working. Nothing is working. And I think they're going to find out that the consumer base that they could have had was driven away. It was Meghan herself. She is her ultimate underminer. She constantly undermines herself. And I think the As Ever brand will be no different. And Netflix bosses, if they aren't shaking in their boots, they definitely should be a little concerned as this launch goes ahead, because Meghan does not have a great track record and she has, quote unquote, made mistakes. But if she's dealing with somebody else's money and she constantly keeps making mistakes, there will be no grace period. At some point, the hammer will come down. So we shall see how this all plays out. But guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I shall talk to you again very soon. Bye.